So if consistency is the holy grail for people with ADHD, how do we get there? It never ceases to amuse me once someone starts to get involved with our company, whether that is coming into one of our events or coming in to work with me individually. They're like, you are so incredibly organized. I get people who look at our marketing going out consistently, and they are always impressed at how consistent we're able to be, how consistent I'm able to be, especially because it really does look like all of this comes from me. And the truth is, most of the original content does. It's the execution and distribution that doesn't come from me. So I'm allowed to sit down for one day a month and be really brilliant and then let my team be consistent for me. I've learned there are 3 things that make a big difference in terms of me being able to, one, represent the entire company as being consistent and me looking like I'm super consistent as well. So let's break them down. Number 1, as I already referenced, it's not all me. I recognized very early on that, first of all, I will happily let myself down because I've done that plenty of times. I won't let my team down. So once I recognized that about myself, I learned very early on to fragment all of the things that we do, which meant I said, hey, I'm gonna have a team member who has to actually execute on the last few pieces of any project because it creates accountability for me. First of all, because I don't ever want my team to go and expect me to have done something and then I didn't do it, because that just leads to them not doing the things I expect them to do, which leads to a lot of frustration on everyone's side, and I really don't want to get into that mess. So because I know that 1, I'm not going to let my team down, 2, I don't want to start a cycle of everyone not doing what we say we're going to do, especially if that's one of the core values of our company, I know that if I outsource the final steps of any project, I'm going to hit the deadline because I have to. Now, the really cool thing about this is between technology and VAs, you don't even have to have a whole team in order to do this. I started outsourcing final steps to any one of my projects long before I had the team that I have now. Need to send an email every Monday? Just get a software developer to write a quick script that goes and pulls the content from a folder that exists online somewhere and then sends it out in the email. Now you know that every Monday morning that email's going out, and you are going to disappoint 40 people on that mailing list if you don't get in there and actually create that content for them. Every so often you may miss it anyhow, but for the most part, you'll find it creates an amazing amount of credibility when you know other people are counting on you. Or if you can't find a software developer, or you are a little bit overwhelmed by that idea as is, get a VA and then set up an online folder system and say, hey, on Monday mornings, I want you to go in here, you're gonna grab this content and you're gonna go send it out for me. And if you don't, all I want you to do is send me one email that says, hey, wasn't able to send out the content, it wasn't in there. This doesn't have to be incredibly expensive in any way, shape, or form, but it can be an incredible way to start creating some accountability for yourself, start pushing yourself to get things done, and allow you to really function inside of your ADHD zone of brilliance. Namely being that once a month, sit down and create all of the content you want to create, or create all of the items you want to create, and then just get them scheduled to go out. Number 2, build a baseline for yourself. So what exactly is a baseline? It's a term I use a lot, and it is one of the tools in my tool belt that has become incredibly important for me being able to execute consistently. But it's not necessarily a term that I think is common knowledge across the business world. So I'm gonna break it down real quickly here. The shortest definition possible is that a baseline is literally just a list of all of the items that you are doing on a daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly basis that are your baseline for success. So this could be a list of check XYZ website daily, reply to emails daily, create social content weekly, record videos monthly, attend 2 networking events weekly, create a to-do list daily, compare calendars daily, because I know you probably have 2, a digital one and a paper one. I would encourage, with your baseline, keep it simple for starters, because we need to. We as individuals with ADHD tend to go all in. We find this really cool thing, this really cool tool, and we go crazy on it. Relax, cut yourself some slack. It's okay. Start small. Give yourself 2 things to do daily, 3 things to do weekly, and 3 things to do monthly. List it out, and then every Friday, check in and see what you're doing. And yes, that goes on the baseline, as in weekly, check baseline. And number 3 is build habits. I know that's a little bit of a cop-out, because if it was that easy, Stephanie, we would all do it. But there are, first of all, a ton of books out there about how to build habits. There's things like tying them to trigger habits. There's things like starting small. There's things like giving yourself rewards. There's a lot we can do to build habits. What I would encourage you to do is, if this is a challenge area for you, find some books that do talk about how to build habits, and then start finding what works for you as an individual with whatever you've got going on in your head. Because what's worked for me me to build habits may not be the thing that works for you, and that's okay. One of the biggest keys for me in terms of creating habits was to start small. Think of just one habit I wanted to get integrated and really focus on just that one habit. Put sticky notes up everywhere I needed to, and I tied it to something existing that was already a habit. So maybe I tied it to brushing my teeth. Maybe I tied it to creating my to-do list for the day. I tied it to something that I knew I was already going to be doing on that frequency. So whether that was supposed to be daily, weekly, or monthly, so that I didn't have to try and remember it on its own. Creating consistency truly is, I think, the holy grail of things for those of us with ADHD. We all want to be more consistent. We all want to be better at all of these things in our lives. But I think one of the most important things to remember is that it is a skill set. It's a habit. It's something we build up. It's not something we're going to be great at overnight. I didn't get to where I am overnight, and you probably won't get to where you want to be overnight either. But as usual, if you start today, you'll be amazed at how far you can get in a year.